Carol Dweck, the professor of psychology at Stanford, has spent over 40 years researching and conducting numerous studies to attempt to understand how we face and confront difficulties and threats in life, and how our mindset plays a crucial role in success or failure. According to Dweck, individuals can be placed on a continuum according to their views and beliefs of where ability comes from. This continuum has a growth mindset on one side and a fixed mindset on the other. Those with a growth mindset show greater resilience and the ability to bounce back from setbacks. For example, in sport, people who exhibit a growth mindset are better able to handle threats, take criticism, and problem solve than those with a fixed mindset, who are typically more likely to avoid the threat altogether, blame other factors for failure, and ultimately give up. Those with a fixed mindset have a need for approval, as explained by Dweck. Every situation calls for a confirmation of their intelligence, personality, or character. Every situation is evaluated. Will I succeed or fail? Will I look smart or dumb? Will I be accepted or rejected? They are seeking constant validation for all areas of their lives. Whereas those with a growth mindset have a hunger for learning and a desire to work hard to get the results. There is a love of the process around a task or challenge, sometimes even more so than the end result. With a growth mindset, people see failure as feedback and reframe threats into challenges as an opportunity to learn and grow. Dweck has dedicated a large part of her career to numerous studies to begin to theorize and understand how growth or fixed mindset traits are grown and developed. What some of the findings are showing is the way children get praised has a huge influence. In a repeated study over several decades, children that were praised on their intelligence and talent for solving a problem were far more likely to exhibit fixed mindset characteristic traits in future when confronted with difficult situations. Whereas children that were praised on the process, their efforts, their strategies, their focus, their perseverance, showed vastly improved growth mindset traits for future difficult situations. This form of praise produced kids that were hardy and resilient later down the line. So how can we relate these amazing findings to our own lives and look to cultivate more of a growth mindset in all we do? Language and the way it is used in regard to our belief systems and behaviors is immensely powerful. The language we hear from others plays a crucial role to our identity. But what is of higher value and importance is the language we use ourselves to tell our own story. In sports, this is often referred to as our inner voice. First and foremost, we need to work on becoming more aware of our inner voice and the tone and words we use to describe threats and difficulties to ourselves. Once awareness of our inner voice takes place, this is 60% of the problem solved. Awareness is a fundamental tool that needs to be practiced and developed. Start by imagining your inner voice as a friend that was giving you advice when you may have failed in a difficult task or situation. Now, reflect on how this friend speaks to you. You will find you may not want to be friends with this inner voice for very long. Professor of psychology at Santa Clara University, Shauna Shapiro, talks about the brain and the strengthening of neural pathways, synapses, and ultimately our identity in this wonderful saying: what we practice grows stronger. If we practice judgment, we grow judgment. If we practice impatience, we grow impatience. If we practice doubt and fear, we grow doubt and fear. This is what our inner voice is doing. We are strengthening these pathways in the brain when the language we use is of this negative nature. Try and make it your goal to make awareness of your inner voice your first port of call. Once awareness of the inner voice is more present, then begin to reframe the way you speak to yourself. Practice traits and behaviors of growth mindset people, and, like anything, with time and practice, we form strong and permanent habits. A tool I look to use and recommend to help reframe your inner voice involves two very simple and powerful words: yet and get. Let me explain. If you're struggling to do something and your inner voice has made its mind up, add the word yet to the end of the sentence. For example, I'm not going to be good enough to compete at that level. Or, I'm not going to be good enough to compete at that level yet. I cannot execute that shot like I want. Or, I cannot execute that shot like I want yet. I get frustrated playing this opponent and cannot beat them. Or, I get frustrated playing this opponent and cannot beat them yet. Observe how the word yet added to these sentences gives the feeling of being on a journey of growth and discovery. This should assist in reframing some fixed mindset sentiments. Secondly, if there is a sentence you tell yourself that has the word have in it, take a moment and replace it with the word get. For example, I have to go to the courts and train again this week, even though I'm tired. Or, I get to go to the courts and train again this week, even though I am tired. I have to spend time working on my mental side of the game. Or, I get to spend time working on my mental side of the game. I'm feeling unconfident and lack of drive, but I have to play this match. Or, I'm feeling confident and lack of drive, but I get to play this match. Think of how lucky you are and how many less fortunate people in the world would love to get to do the things that you deem you have to do. So in closing, become aware of the inner voice and the language you use when confronted with difficulties or threats. Are you perceiving them with a fixed or growth mindset? If you have a fixed outlook on them, you are likely to continue to see them as a threat. But alternatively, if you are able to reframe this threat into a positive challenge by using a growth mindset outlook, you may just find a lot of learning, success, and positivity along the way. Presence, process, persistence, the essence of Squash Mind.